Alright everyone, we're heading into the top 5. Number 5, the Pierre Marquette 1225. The Pierre Marquette 1225 is a 284 Berkshire steam locomotive used by the Pierre Marquette and the Chesapeake and Ohio Railway until 1951, when it was retired and put into storage. The locomotive found a home at the Michigan State University, saved from the scrapper's torch when it was at rusting away until the mid-1970s. Thanks to the help of a few college rail fans, hence they took meticulous care of the locomotive. The 1225 was eventually rebuilt for its 30-year career and entered excursion service in 1988. In 2009, the locomotive was hauling the North Pole Express, which recreates scenes from the movie The Polar Express, with the children on board. In 2013, the locomotive was again hauling the North Pole Express. It is still running today, and it can still take rides. Number 4, the Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe. Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe 3751 is a 484 Northern type built by the Baldwin Locomotive Works in 1938. It pulled both passengers and freight trains until 1951, when it was retired. It was eventually moved into Oaks Parks, and eventually was restored in the late 1990s, I believe. Eventually, it entered excursion service later on, and you can still see it running today. Number 3, the Nickel Plate Road 765. The Nickel Plate Road 765 is another 284 Berkshire, and it was also built by the Lima Locomotive Works. It pulled passenger trains until being retired in 1952. Eventually, it was restored later on, and you can still see it running today at the Steam in the Valley Railroad, or something, I believe. That's just all I know. Okay, we're getting closer to number 1. So I know this locomotive is recognizable, so for those of you who don't know trains about there, try and look it up and you can know what it is. Okay. Number 2. The Southern Pacific 4449. The Southern Pacific 4449 is a GS4 or Northern, built by the Lima Locomotive Works in Lima, Ohio. It pulled the daylight passenger trains until being retired in 1952. Eventually, later on, it was restored and eventually it was able to pull some excursion trains. And now number 1. And alright everyone, I'm going to pause and see if you can recognize this engine. The Chesapeake and Ohio 2716. The Chesapeake and Ohio 2716 was a 284 Berkshire. Eventually, it pulled freight trains, and eventually, some kind of plan was eventually canceled. Eventually, the 2716 was moved to the Norfolk Southern shops for restoration. 1 year later, it was eventually in disguise as Southern 2716. It was transformed into what a 284 Berkshire would look like. It can easily pull a 10 to 20 car passenger train. The following year, 1994, Southern's new superstar was starting to have problems. She developed cracks in her firebox, which eventually dampened her performance. The locomotive was eventually sidelined, and nickel plate row number 765 had to be called in as a replacement. Later, sometime in the 1990s or 2000s, they have to deal with two of their 284 Berkshires. They could either do a full rebuild of the 765 and get a likely new locomotive out of it, or install new flues in 2760 and keep her running for a while. In the end, the decision to rebuild number 765 was the plan to obey. The 2716 resides at a museum where it resides today. Whether or not it will steam again is up for debate. But despite her roller coaster career, this canal would certainly make very good memories for all who have seen her. So I hope you enjoyed this top 15 list of my favorite steam locomotives. So stay tuned for more videos in the future. Bye.